first, I'm going to say something really positive about Star Wars to cushion the blow when I say something right after very negative. Well, about Rogue One. The positive thing is that I was thinking about the Star Wars franchise today, and I was like, there's just something magical about it, something cozy. And I think that's because this was the first, literally the first blockbuster franchise, the one that started it all. And just like Snow White, I think it has the same nostalgia feel that 2D animation does, right? And that is a tremendous benefit to the franchise, and something that I think many of us were kind of hoping. Well, The Force Awakens capitalizes on it to some degree while trying to be very modern at the same time. But something about the visual aesthetic and like the graininess of this Rogue One footage has made it feel even more Star Warsy, at least to me. So I'm really just waiting for this movie to realize its potential, not only as like a pure Star Wars movie, but on the whole pitch for making these standalone movies to begin with, right? Remember they were like, they're going to be these really cool things that play with the franchise and introduce different genres, right? I mean, I'm not seeing the delivery on the promise that was made to me by Kathleen Kennedy. So I actually have two kind of negative things to say. We'll go with the lesser of the two evils. And that is that I think it occurs to me that the reason they're not showing more with this trailer is because maybe they simply don't have it. As we know, this movie is undergoing, not only underwent significant reshoots, but is currently being chopped up like crazy and re-edited. And Tony Gilroy has actually taken over the film. Not only did he direct the reshoots, but he's taken over the editing away from Gareth Edwards. That was recently reported, and that Gareth Edwards has been, made an advisor on his own film. So they might have a situation where they're like, we don't want a Joker type situation on Suicide Squad where we promise people stuff that isn't there. So while we still decide what's actually in the picture, you're just going to have to be in this trailer holding pattern, right? So that's the first negative thing. The second negative thing is that I still don't like Jyn Erso. I'm sorry. When I reviewed the Star Wars Celebration trailer, the sizzle reel or whatever, my opening statement was pretty bold and it annoyed some of you. And I said, if this movie didn't have Jyn Erso in it, I think it would have much more of a chance of being successful. And many of you got angry with me, as I said. However, I'm noticing a shift with this trailer, and I'm seeing it in the comments, and I think a lot of you are coming over to my side, because a lot of you were like, it's early days, Grace. You don't know. She's going to be super likable. And I think that the more we see of the movie and the not likable that she doesn't become, she doesn't become likable, you're like, maybe she is just really annoying. We'll see. She has a potentially badass moment hinted at the end of this trailer, but I don't know if it's the way it's written. I don't know if it's Felicity Jones's acting, but there's just something about it where you're like, it's not good. All right, so let's go through this. I think that there are some really interesting things to discuss in this trailer, but not nearly enough. Now, I like this. This is a city, and you're going to see. This is actually the city you're going to see from a different angle in just a moment. But I think this is really cool, and also this shot gives you an idea of the size of the city, if you realize that you're looking at the same city. So you look at this and you can see it's just a jumble of buildings in there. And I like this kind of cool new ship that they're introducing for this movie. There are a lot of things in this trailer that look just not only like they're ready to be a Lego set, but that they are made out of Legos. And these cool ships are one of them with their little flappy wings. And you can see the city is occupied, and you have all the Imperial fighters flying around it, right? Just being like little flies, right? Can the rebellion swat them away? As someone said, since this is a prequel, obviously the answer is no, but we shall see. So anyway, this is important to get an idea of the size of the city. But we're going to take a break here and see Jyn Erso talking to Saw Gerrera, played by Forrest Whitaker, who has kind of a British accent too. The old, it's a classical story, so everyone has a British accent for some reason, right? I would like to see some different accents kind of come into Star Wars. And we're seeing that a little bit with Donnie Yen and Jiang Wen's characters. I got my little cheat sheet of actors and character names here. So Saw Gerrera is like, the Empire flags are flying high. Like over this city. Now this is great. this is the same city we were just looking at. Isn't that neat? What I like about it so much, okay, is that this is like the old medieval cities where they would be protected by some kind of wall and everything would take place inside, and there would be some sort of castle, which would be so many countless European cities are constructed this way. And, I guess in place of a castle here, you have this really cool, tall, like fortress type building that almost looks like it could plug in to that Imperial starship above it, which is so cool. And also, we just saw how big that city was in the other shot, so just imagine how big that Imperial starship is above it. It's just so cool. It's like probably maybe one of my favorite things in the trailer because it's great world building. I wonder how you get into that city because you can see some figures down below looking at it. It's just really neat. And the real world application, I think is just spectacular, right? That it's based on actual European cities. That's so cool. All right, how did they build it? So moving along, Lucasfilm. They don't brand these with Disney, interestingly enough. See, now this is a really annoying thing where they're like, can you be trusted without your shackles on? I mean, really, is Jyn Erso so dangerous that in the heart of a rebel base, surrounded by people, including this Diego Luna cool character, Cassian Andor, that she's actually a threat to them? I mean, it's like the Mary Sue situation. You can't have an imbalance in that one character is just so much cooler than everyone else. Especially if it's the only female character. You have to be democratic in the awesomeness that you disperse amongst your characters. And the Star Wars movie is like, oh, that's cool. Give it to Jyn. Oh, that would be neat. Give it to Jyn. And you're like, ugh. All right. So anyway, Diego Luna has a good accent too. Oh, look at this guy. See that guy there? I like the look on his face. He's as disgusted with her behavior as we are. Or some of us are. You're with me. All right, so anyway. Also, I like that they have the green lights in the rebellion camp, but the Empire uses red. It's like they call colors or something. We're like, we can't use the same color as them. That would mean we were two alike. All right. So she's getting her briefing. Now this, does that look like a Lego ship to you? It's like ridiculous. It looks so much like Legos. Now here, less cool because we've seen so many Death Stars at this point. Well, this is the original Death Star that they're building. They have to steal the plans for this. But still, I do like the way it lights up like a city. It reminds me of the New York skyline a little bit, which is like one of the coolest views, especially in person, like to stand before it and just be like, look at all those lights and their little rooms. It's so cool. So yeah, it's pretty nice. If you had an apartment overlooking the Death Star, you'd be pretty happy. But anyway, we had it again, a whole another one in The Force Awakens. It just makes the Death Star a little less special. But it's big. And apparently gets satellite TV. Couldn't help myself. That's the weapon of mass destruction. Remember we were talking about those crystals that might be on Jedha? Kyber crystals, I believe. And they power lightsabers. Well, also some of you, they said Sith weapons of mass destruction, which some of you pointed out is the Death Star. All right. All right. She's like, I want to help you. Now this is cool. You can see like Mayan ruins. And I like the global feel to this. I do like the global feel quite a bit, not only with the cast, but with the settings. And so this is on Jedha, I believe. So these temples maybe are Jedi temples. That's kind of cool, right? And this is like a different ship. Riz Ahmed was giving an interview for this, and he plays a pilot, a former pilot for the Empire, actually, who's trying to redeem himself. You'd never know it from this trailer because he just doesn't have any lines. But we'll talk about him when we see him for a second. But anyway, he said that this rebellion, it's not like the Millennium Falcon where you're like, you have ownership of a ship, where you're like, that's my ship. I take care of that baby. I treat it right. It treats me right. He says, here you grab whatever ship's available. And I like the ragtag feeling to the rebellion here. I think it's very authentic. We'll see if the script is authentic, but visually and the way they show them in battle is pretty cool. So someone's taken off. I liked in here, I made a joke when I was watching it. I was like, natural light, right? But to be honest, natural light is something we're not used to seeing so much in the Star Wars universe. I mean, they're in daytime, of course, but in the Star Wars movies, especially because I think, later on a lot of it was shot with green screen, they haven't really made an effort to have like the light filter through onto the characters. And so I like that. It makes it seem really real. And even though I also like the cool 70s tech that they have in Star Wars. It's so awesome. Like, how can you read that? How could you read that? There's like no detail. They're like, just see this X, and I mean, it's just like, it's like horrible, you know, it's just crazy. I'd be like, man, you need to develop some better technology. How can you build a Death Star if that's the technology that you have? Now here he's saying, I'm really good at recruiting people, which is interesting. I'm going to pause it here because it sets up that that's how the crew comes together, that Diego Luna picks them, and they should play that up more because it makes it seem like it's not just Jyn Erso's show. But I paused it here because I saw one of you say that you were a little disappointed in the my live reaction to this trailer that Jedha looks just like Earth, right? And you like the planets in Star Wars to have like a different feel to them, to feel like you're in space. And so I like that here. I like, you know, the grandness of it, and that it doesn't seem so easily habitable by human-like creatures. You know, there's that theory that Star Wars is like before Adam and Eve or whatever, but that's a whole different conversation. Now here we have our two characters, and this is interesting. We have, this is Donnie Yen and Jiang Wen playing Chirrut Imwe and Baze Malbus. And you see that red light glowing on the front of Donnie Yen there? That's the same red thing. I'll point it out when we see him again, but he's wearing that in the other scenes that we've seen him in. And I think it's interesting that here it's glowing. So maybe it helps him see, maybe it's some kind of locating device. Maybe, I don't know why he would carry it around all the time. Also, you can, I didn't even notice that the tip of his walking or stick or bow staff / walking stick, because, you know, his character's blind, glows. And that's pretty neat. And that's a pretty cool gun that his friend has. You know, they've talked about this, and Jiang Wen has said his character is very, you know, a realist, you know, the nitty gritty, and that he kind of doesn't believe his friend. Well, we won't give away the spoiler that Jiang Wen gave away at Star Wars Celebration, but that Donnie Yen's character more believes in the Force and fantasy, and so they're like a yin and yang, which is you know, a very, very nice idea for two characters, you know, two Asian characters. But we'll see. They look cool there. They look pretty neat. I'll hang out with these guys. Anyone but Jyn Erso. So he's like, I fight the Empire now. Here they are. Go ahead. What was that cool guy there? That's pretty neat. I wonder what that is. He looks experimented on, like he has no head. Interesting. All right, so anyway, more Stormtrooper variations. Okay. So Donnie Yen, I thought that was interesting here. He said, you know, I fear nothing because the Force will do what it wants. You know, just, you know, total belief in the Force. And, you know, I think we've never really seen the Force being that kind of an entity before that has like an agenda, right? Like, what does the Force want? And someone also on the live reaction video pointed out in the comments saying, really, Donnie Yen? So you're cool with all the horrible things that happen in Star Wars later movies and probably up until this point? The Force is okay with that? And I'm sure they would just say the Force works in mysterious ways. But I hope that they show where his intense faith comes from. That would be kind of important. He's like, I'm going to pick a fight here. Now, this is pretty cool. Just seeing Donnie Yen do anything is great. I just love Donnie Yen so much. If you haven't watched the Ip Man films, what are you waiting for? But this is neat. I like shots. I like stuff like this because if you see this slow down, whoever fires this is an amazing shot to fire right between Cassian and Jyn to get that stormtrooper behind them. And I love thinking about how they film this, right? They're like, okay, the visual effect is going to go right between the two of you. So when I say now, you react. To a whole bunch of crazy sparks that just, you know, how does that not burn her face? I kind of wish it would burn both of them, just like little, small, at least slight burns, just because, you know, this is supposed to be so realistic. And that's a really close quarter shot. There should be some ramifications. You know, they shouldn't just get away scot-free. Donnie Yen's taking him out. Now, I love K2SO. New favorite character. I love the way he moves. I wish he didn't have a British accent. Who's programming all these droids with British accents? It's too C-3PO in my opinion. I kind of wish, I love the joke about like, why would they program the Terminator with an Austrian accent? Like not even like a good one, like this crazy, wacky Austrian accent. They had a really funny, I think it was Key of Awesome, did like a sketch like a couple of years ago, and it was really funny. If I find it, I'll put a link below in the video description. And it was like you can just watch it. I don't want to give it away, but it made fun of like, why would you program it that way? So I wish that this droid had a voice that was just different. Like a German accent would be awesome, or just some crazy, like maybe something that was more robotic, because he's like a pro droid who's like, yeah, humans suck. Like he's going to threaten her life in just a moment. So wouldn't it be neat if he took out all the human qualities of his voice? That would be another cool way to go, right? That he just sounded like just totally devoid of any humanity because he's not. I'm not human. That's my human voice, and I don't want it. So I think that's really cool. He'd also speak in like beeps, but that would be difficult from a story perspective. Although authentic. If I were like a really hardcore screenwriter, I'd lobby Kathleen Kennedy to be like, can I put subtitles up and have him speak in beeps? All right. I like this character a lot. I also like the way he moves. I like, he's like, I will not kill you. I hear you are a friend. Now look how he shifts his weight. That's so cool. That's amazing. I mean, like that droid's got swagger. And I just like, and there's like a violence about the way he moves too. I think that's an Empire insignia on his arm, right? He's like, I'm not going to clean those up. They can come in handy later. But just the way he moves is just so cool. Like he seems really good for battle and like he could really deliver a lot of pain. So I'm glad he's on our side. So, that's great. Oh, I was wondering what the point of the eclipse was. It's the Death Star. All right. They're like some guys are on break and they're like, just fly it over there just for fun, just to freak everybody out down below. And I think actually that's the city. Yeah, that's the city from earlier. Maybe they're getting into position. Oh yeah, usually they use a sun, right? Or a star to power it. I gotta know my Star Wars stuff, right? So maybe they're like getting into position to just completely obliterate and melt that city. Pretty interesting. It's starting to come together. Now here they are. Front row seats, everybody. Now, I love the way, now this is Orson Krennic, and I love the way his cape moves. It actually looks a little bit like pleather, now that we're getting to see it a little bit up close. It's just so neat. If I were him, I would be constantly walking. I'd just pace around. I'd be like, you got it, use it. But I think what's interesting here is that you can see that it moves funny because it's so tight around his shoulders. And you can see that it's clipped in here. Like those are really cool, like almost like pocket protectors that he has clipped on there. And, the Ben Mendelsohn can make that cool is pretty awesome. Oh, look at that, like 70s, like they're just squares pinned on his uniform, right? Like back in the 70s, like when they originally made the Star Wars films, that was considered like cool, right? But today you're like, you just have a bunch of Legos on your chest. What does that stand for? I mean, I guess, today, the different things that, generals wear on their chests are, just a little bit more intricate. But still, I don't know. But that's a pretty good evil stare he's got going there. I'd be like, let's have him have a evil, with the death grip versus his evil eye. So he's like, I'll just kill that that city with my look. Now this is great. I love the way they embark without landing. That's super cool. That's like the kind of realistic warfare that I like about this movie. What I was promised. So they disembark. They're like, here we go. They all look really woefully unprepared. This is definitely a ragtag army of unprofessionals. They're like, woo, we don't know what we're doing. That's really actually not so cool because we'll stop on Donnie Yen for a moment and see if he feels guilty. It's a pretty good, he's doing a good job selling the blindness. But anyway, the thing is when you have really unexperienced fighters, sometimes it's because all you can get, but sometimes, especially in warfare, they just are used as cannon fodder. They're like, well, they're not that great fighters, but it doesn't matter because we're just going to swarm the enemy with them. And while they're busy killing all those people, maybe some of our better soldiers can get there, or we'll just overwhelm them, So, horrible, horrible truths about the infantry. But anyway... More fighting, explosions. Now here, it's very C-3PO. I do not like this at all. He's like, oh, we have, I know, even though I like this character, he looks so cool. He looks so evil. I'd be like, you look so badass. You got to work on your dialogue, man. It doesn't match your face. But he's like, oh, there's only like there's a big chance we're going to fail. And Diego Luna has to apologize to him, for him to the group. I can't get enough of Star Wars on the beach, though, I gotta tell you. Even though it does look like Earth. And there's Riz Ahmed. And he has I like that they saved all their Empire uniforms and insignia. They're like, he said he kept it on to remind himself of what he has to redeem himself for. But I also think maybe they're like, we can't afford new uniforms. What are you, crazy? You wear what you came to the rebellion in, like, well, there's no change of clothes here. But anyway, it's such a, just as an idea of some of the missed opportunities in this trailer. Riz Ahmed is currently one of the stars of one of the most popular shows on the air right now, and that's The Night Of on HBO. It's really good. So I don't understand why they wouldn't capitalize on the current popularity of that show and be like, hey, are you enjoying The Night Of starring Riz Ahmed? He's in our movie. Get excited. So I really want to see more of him. He's just such a great actor who has a British accent in real life. Let's see if he does in this movie. That's great. I love lights in the fog. So you have a couple of X-Wings coming into formation here. The same planet that we saw earlier where Donnie Yen and Jiang Wen were. I like that. Rocket, you know, again, like low-tech warfare, right? Like guerrilla warfare. Apparently they haven't thought of tripping them up yet. So she, you know, I think that Saw Gerrera looks a little bit cooler there. I like him. He looks cool. I didn't like him so much in the first trailer, but I like his hair. I like his Don King hair, you know, and the scar on his face. Although I don't know why he doesn't have blue eyes. He has blue eyes in the animated series, and if you're going to bring a character to life, why would you do something? Why would you not do something? And they're like kind of glowy blue eyes. Why would you do that and why would you leave out such a big defining characteristic? But anyway, maybe those aren't his eyes. I don't know. He's got new eyes. Now that's cool. That actually reminded me a lot of Mad Max Fury Road. You know, the sandstorm they were driving through. So Diego Luna, I love when they go to light speed. That's pretty cool. You're like, it's Star Wars. Woohoo! So that's neat. Now this is the badass moment. You can see she's a little injured in the way she's walking, and she's carrying some kind of gun or some kind of weapon. And I like that I think that she's going to take out this fighter that's coming up right at the end there, and she's just going to be like, you know what, like, I'm injured, I've only got this, you know, this gun, but it's going to be enough to take you out. I think that's pretty neat. Again, if her character is annoying for the entire movie and they give that moment to her, it might annoy some people, but on its own, it's pretty cool. So you can see she's just like, I'm just going to shoot you right through that windshield, you jerk. I love that. And he's like, we're with you. Now you see all those people right there? They're all, anyone who you don't know, they're going to die, right? They're like, that's the Star Wars equivalent of red shirts right there. So anyway, although nice diversity, you know, good for Star Wars there. So let's see here. She's like, yes, you are all my co-stars, or I am the lead and you are all for me. Boy, so unlikable. I'm sorry. I just, you know, all right. And then here they have the Darth Vader tease. And again, he's like, I only look at red lights. And I think this is really just too short a tease. It's almost like a little bit like insulting to fans, like, oh, because like first you hear him breathing, or, you know, then you see just the back of his head. Like, I wish there was something cool reflected in the back of his head, or, you know, maybe you saw him walking, I don't know, or you just saw the hand doing like the death grip. That would be cool. I just, you know, this is just kind of like, it's like a non-starter. I do kind of like to think, you know, that he's looking at the plans, you know, just like a boss would, you know, like over, like, you know, and director Krennic is right behind him being like, does he like it? I don't know. Or I hate this guy. Why is he the boss? Why do I work for him? You know, let's just go full Office parody here, I guess. You know, I hope there are some elements to that. That would be fun. So anyway, that's my shot-by-shot breakdown of the first full trailer for Rogue One. I'm curious, what do you think? What do you think's good about it? What do you think's lacking? What did I miss? What are some things that you liked about the trailer that we didn't get to discuss here? What do you think of the Darth Vader tease? And also, do you think that there's not a lot here because of the reshoots? All right, and what do you think of Jyn Erso? Most important. Write your thoughts down below, because I think this movie will live or die by her character. So write your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for going through this with me, and you can check out some more episodes right now.